continue our culinary journey through Italy on the Viking Life Cooking Series. I'm Margaret McSweeney here
and I'm
with
Chef Jaime Laurita. And today, Margaret, like you said, we are continuing the Italian journey, right?
This is so much fun.
It is fun. So today we are making risotto. It's one of my favorite dishes. It's something that I learned when I was traveling as a young chef through Italy. Fortunately, Margaret, I don't know if you know, but as a graduate of the Culinary Institute of America, I was able to win an award that got me to Italy. So it was a bunch of young chefs, which is really, at the end of the day, a very dangerous thing to do, is send a bunch of young chefs on a journey through Italy. But today, folks, we're going to talk about risotto.
Yes.
Margaret always has a special secret ingredient, right, Margaret?
Oh,
that
always.
You learn as a budding chef. Margaret's learning about food. So today's ingredient was arborio.
Yes, arborio. It's so fascinating to learn about risotto. They started growing rice in the 14th century in southern Italy, and there is a documented recipe in the early 1800s for risotto using bone marrow and saffron.
I mean, I'll have that today. That sounds absolutely delicious. Margaret, there's another type of rice. Let's see how intelligent you are about arborio rice and risotto.
Okay.
What other type of rice is there?
Carnivale.
Carnivale. Very
Carnivale.
good. Very good. So today we learned about two different types of rice that you can use when you're cooking and making risotto. But what's so fun about making risotto, guys, is that there's a method behind it and a little bit of a madness. So I learned this from a very talented chef over in Imola, Bologna. His name was Valentino Maccatelli, and we worked at a restaurant called San Domenico, and I was this young, very shy, if you can imagine.
I cannot imagine you being shy.
Anyway, we start out with the risotto by having, first of all, always a hot stock. Make sure you always have stock at a beautiful rolling boil, guys. And remember, we talk a lot about what when we cook here with Jaime Laurita.
We talk about the sizzle.
Right, so we have to make sure that we are cooking with fire. And one of the great things about Viking is that, again, I love my Viking 5 Series range. You hear that sizzle?
Oh, I love that sizzle.
So my 5 Series range, I got to tell you guys, Viking really understands control and flame control and temperature control. So this is the sizzle I want you to hear when you're making risotto. You don't want to burn your onions.
Yes.
That would be the most unattractive thing in a risotto, is to have blackened or darkened onions with that beautiful white rice. So you want to always make sure that you're considering the onions in this dish. Risotto is made in 18 minutes. Basically, first, you want to make sure that your onions are going at a medium. You know, basically on my range here, I'm on medium heat, on Viking medium heat, which is perfect for these onions. And you want to get your onions going. I've got a hot stock, I've got my onions going. The next thing, and the most important thing, I believe, when you're making risotto, is that you're toasting the rice.
Okay.
So what I have here is about 3 cups of rice. So when you're thinking about portions, Margaret, and you're making this for your friends, it's about a half a cup, even a third a cup of dry rice per person.
Wow.
So here I have about 3 cups, which gives you enough rice for how many people? 6 to 8. Right, Margaret, exactly.
And I'm a former banker.
She's a former banker, I'm telling you. All right, so the toasting process is the most important thing when you're making risotto. It's how you begin to allow each grain of rice, by toasting it, it opens up. Each rice has a little bit of a lot of little pores in it. By heating it up and toasting it, it's like opening them and allows them to absorb the liquid. So it's one of the most important things when you're making risottos to have a perfectly toasted rice. So Margaret, first thing I do is crank up the heat.
Okay.
I take my Viking onto high. I'm getting high with Viking right now. And then I've got I saw Margaret just clutch her pearls. Whenever Margaret clutches her pearls, that's a sign to take a sip of wine. A little bit more tattoo, she's a little bit more pearls. It's just our thing. So anyhow, during the toasting process, Margaret, you want to constantly keep the rice going. Now this is the time where you should have some beautiful music playing.
And what music would you play to accompany risotto?
Me, I'm a rocker, so I'm going to have some different music. Margaret, if you had some beautiful music playing right now, what would it be?
Vivaldi.
Oh.
I think.
Well, your father was a musician, wasn't he?
He was a wonderful lyric tenor, Just, yes, he serenaded in the kitchen.
He did?
Yes, all the time.
I serenade in the kitchen too, but not quite like your dad. As we're spinning our rice, I want Margaret to feel this. Now, Margaret,
Okay.
when you're making risotto, this is one of the most passionate dishes you can make as a chef. It gives
Wow.
you the opportunity to throw yourself into the pot. Not literally, but kind of figuratively. You're putting your soul into this. So when you're making risotto, first thing I want you to feel, Margaret, is while you're spinning it,
Yes.
feel the weight of the rice. It's important for you to get, this is scary, guys. I'm asking Margaret to get behind the range.
And I'm recovering from a broken shoulder, so this should really be fun.
This is going to be interesting. So, Margaret, take the rice and just feel the
Okay.
weight of it as you spin it.
Okay.
You feel how almost difficult, guys, but as you're spinning the rice and as you're toasting the rice, it's actually going to get easier as the rice toasts. So you want to make sure you're constantly spinning the rice and the onions together so there's no burning involved. And if that starts to happen, you can always move it off the fire a little bit and continue the toasting process. This is a dish based by sound, by
Yes.
sight, by feeling, and touch. You'll know when the rice is good enough. First of all, you're going to notice that the rice is starting already to toast and turn a different color.
It is.
And you hear that squeaking?
I do.
Yeah,
It's
that's
changed
actually
from
the
the
wooden
sizzle.
spoon hitting the pan and moving the rice. It's actually going to get a lot easier to
Okay.
spin the rice as it toasts. I'm going to go back on the fire.
And how do you know if you need more of the stock in it?
You'll see. The rice will speak to you. That's a good question. That's a very good question. But when Margaret first started, I don't even want to say cooking. When I first met you, I want to say that you hardly could boil water.
That is true.
That is true. So tell the audience really quickly why you do this.
I do this. I'm on a midlife culinary journey, honoring my late father, and he was a wonderful home chef, passed away 27 years ago in Paris, and I'm doing something that he didn't get a chance to share with me in the kitchen, and you have just continued to be an incredible mentor and dear friend, and teaching me to cook and understand what his joy of cooking was all about.
Yeah, I mean, cooking for me, guys, is very much a way for me to express myself. It's a way for me with all this energy, believe it or not, to calm down. I'm actually at my calmest in the kitchen while I'm cooking, which surprises a lot of people. Feel it and spin it.
Yes, it's much easier.
Substantially lighter, right?
Yes.
That's when you know that you're doing the right thing and you're on your way to getting the right risotto. Now, this is going to become super easy, and those squeaks are going to become a little bit louder.
Okay.
Listen to your dish. This is one of the funnest recipes to do and accomplish because you can actually interact with it. This rice then will start to get lighter and lighter and lighter, and once it starts to get a little bit more golden brown, which should be in about 2 minutes, that's when I'm going to start to incorporate my wine, and that rice is really opened up. It's going to allow that liquid to really penetrate and absorb into the rice. And then you're going to get a really creamy risotto, which is what you want in the end. So now you can see how easy my rice is spinning, guys.
Yes.
This is like, we're on our way. We're on a journey to the perfect risotto. Rice is easy to spin. It's starting to really toast up. Do you see that?
It is very light.
Guys, look, super, super easy to spin, a little smoky, nothing is burnt and brown, right? You want to be careful of that. Had I not been spinning so much, we would have had burnt bits, which we don't want. Next step is we add some wine.
Okay.
So in here,
Love that sizzle.
you hear that sound? That's about a cup of wine. Now, what kind of wine do you use? That's the question I always get. Margaret, look how fast that wine was absorbed. It's kind of like
Beautiful.
being on a Friday night.
Yes.
So Margaret, look at the bottom of the pan right now. What do you see on the very bottom of the pan?
It is just like smooth and buttery.
Do you see those lines?
I see lines.
Okay,
yes.
that's the starch starting to like leach out of the rice. That's the rice talking to you saying, look at me, I have starch. And that starch is going to be what you want in risotto. So when you see that starch come out of the dish,
Yes.
out of the rice grains, that's your sign to start adding in some hot stock. Make sure your stock is simmering just like this, always. Hot stock, hot rice. Basically 2 ladles at a time, maybe 3. When you're cooking, guys, and you know what you're doing like Margaret, it's not always an exact science like baking. You know, baking is a little bit different. You have to be a little bit more precise, a little bit more, scientific. When it comes to making risotto, you just have to understand temperature. So here we have a beautiful, beautiful risotto going. Stock is really being, drunk up by, is that a word, drunk up? So basically you see that beautiful starch again. What does that say? Add more stock, right? So we're gonna add more stock, 2 ladles at a time, and let it absorb. Let it absorb. Risotto is one of those dishes, guys. By the way, a really great tip when making risotto is it takes a good 18 minutes to get the rice from beginning to end. We talked about that. But if you have, say, dinner guests coming over on Friday or Saturday night or Monday or Tuesday night, I don't care about what night. But if you have dinner guests coming over and you want to make risotto, the good thing about it is that you can get the rice to this point 7 minutes into the game, 6 minutes into the game, cool it down, put it on the side, even put it in your refrigerator, and then bring it back to life on the range with some hot stock, and that cuts down that 18 minutes. So basically, if I wanted to cut this in half right now, take half of this rice out, put it in my refrigerator, and make risotto at the end of the week, I could do that.
And it really is easy. You are making this
so many people are intimidated by making it. It's a listen, you got to put fun into it. You got to put your soul into cooking. You got to put yourself first. Cook with like reckless abandon and fun and joy and love. Most importantly, when you're doing things. If you put intimidation and fear, guess what? That's an ingredient that I'm not going to come and eat.
No.
So at the end of the day, you want to make sure that your handle's not hot like that one is. Thank God for my little Viking towel there. And I'm adding in some more stock, right?
Yes.
Again, the bubbles, you want to see that, and then you want to spin it around. Almost halfway there, Margaret.
Great.
You're going to start to see the starches develop, and this is the time now where you really want to start to incorporate more action, more stirring. You want to really beat the cream into this rice without hurting yourself, like you and your shoulder. Yes. You want to start really making this a little bit more energy. I always like to spin to the right, it's more positive, so I'm putting more energy into it. This way you're going to start to see the creaminess. Remember, at the end of the day, when we plate this, we want it to look like a wave on the plate. Rice has a soul, and rice has a limit when it comes to like cooking. Some people overcook it, some people undercook it. So guys, I have chicken stock here. It's about 2 of those cardboard containers, about 64 ounces. And I'm looking at my rice because everything is not exactly the same. And I'm actually going to add a little bit of liquid, more liquid, to my stock pot. Thank God I'm cooking on a Viking range because I get to crank up the heat.
Oops, I'm not doing it clockwise. Sorry, Jamie.
Ooh, we have to take that out. That's the one thing about this dish too. So versatile. You can put so many things in here. Remember the dish we made, broccoli rabe, for the Viking
Yes,
side?
absolutely.
I have some left over in the refrigerator. I can add that to the end of this dish and make a meal out of that. You can add, you know, anything. You really can be very creative. Radicchio is beautiful, sautéed spinach, peas, asparagus.
While you're stirring, I just wanted to remind everyone, make sure you check out the Viking Life culinary series, cooking series on the Facebook page for Viking, and you'll get Jamie's recipes and you'll see how it's done.
Yes, correct. Correct, Margaret. You will see how it's done. As we keep spinning here, you're going to notice a pool of starch really developing on the bottom. This is like the gold. This is what we work for when you spend the time making risotto. If you guys want to see that, you see that little puddle, that puddle of love right there, that little golden puddle of love? That's the starch that's really streaming out of each rice grain, and that's what you want to see. About 13, 14 minutes into the dish, Margaret. And as you see now, the rice has really absorbed, hasn't it?
May I try to feel the difference? Yes.
So
wow.
talk about how different that is.
It is. You know, it feels like, I look at this as an oar. So it's kind of rowing the risotto, I guess you might say.
Risotto, folks. We're risottoing. As a matter of fact, guys, I'm going to add the rest of the liquid because I know what I'm doing over here.
Yes, you do.
And I'm just going to use the rest of my liquid. Back to, look how beautiful and creamy that is.
This is just gorgeous.
That's what you want to see. You want to see that gorgeous, like, it almost looks like a latte, like a creamy caramel going on there. That's what you want. And at this time, this is the point where you want to get a little bit faster and you want to start really asking the rice to let out the rest of its starch so it can become more creamy in the end. So Margaret, one of the things I love to do at this point is let it go, let it cook up. turn it down to a little bit more of a medium. Let that rice gently absorb all that rest of that liquid. And think about how I'm going to finish this dish. And I prepared all of these spring vegetables.
That is beautiful.
Isn't it pretty? Look at all those colors. So I did this in about 3 minutes in Turbo Chef. And all I have here are some tomatoes, some asparagus, a little bit of onion and garlic. I did a tiny bit of olive oil and a little bit of salt and pepper. 3 minutes in Turbo Chef. And those are the vegetables that I'm thinking about using in my risotto. Now, guys, let's think about, I want you to get creative with me, Margaret.
Okay.
What can we put in this risotto? Like, as far as like, we're not using that.
Okay.
Maybe something that you would say, I love. What's your favorite food?
Shrimp. Actually, I think shrimp would be
so
really good.
At this point, while we still have the starch in here and while we're still getting creamy, you could add your raw shrimp to this dish. And the shrimp would cook in this pot right now. And to that, you can add this vegetable melange or this bouquet into your risotto. You could also add some beef that you have left over or some chicken that you can have left over. I want to let you know that how versatile this dish is.
It really is.
And it feeds a lot of people. Like this would feed, you know, a family of 6 to 8 people. I'm going to shut off the heat.
Okay.
Right? I'm going to allow it to sit for a moment. I'm going to add in some of my spring vegetables.
Gorgeous. Look at that.
Save a little bit for the plate, the plate, by the way. It's not a plate anymore, it's a plate. Save a little bit for the plate. And it's for the pretty, you know, when you garnish it. You want to have an Instagram shot.
Yes.
I mean, come on, kids.
A pretty plate is a plate.
It's a plate. We just hashtag have our gorgeous risotto happening here. Our vegetables are incorporated, right? I want to make sure. Al dente means to the tooth.
Okay.
When you check risotto, don't burn yourself. Try to get a little piece of this rice.
Okay.
Right there. Grab it off the wooden spoon. Is it just a little al dente, which means when you cut it with your tooth, you can still feel the bite?
Yes, I still taste the salt.
So now we're going to do the finishing touches. I like to add
butter.
A little bit of butter.
The Julia Child touch.
Got to add a little bit of Julia. And a little bit of, well, you can't go wrong with Parmigiano Reggiano. You just can't.
It's
so I like to
Italian.
go for per portion for people, per pinch. So this is about 8 pinches, large pinches, that I like to finish my dish with.
Italian pinches.
My Italian pinches, stronger than most pinches. Now remember, when you're cooking, you want to season your food, not over season your food, all the way along the process normally. For my risotto, I only season it at the end because you add a lot of cheese to that. If I was seasoning all the way through and then I added the cheese is salty, so you have to like compensate for that. So I'm going to give this a little bit of a taste.
Oh, what a cute spoon.
Thank you. Delicious. Needs another little pinch of salt. Remember, you never know with cheese how salty cheese is going to be, so you don't want to season it with salt and then add too much.
Right.
So I add a little bit of lemon zest. Make sure you don't have the sticker on the lemon, guys.
Details. But it is so zesty.
So a little bit of lemon will really brighten it up. I juice a little lemon in it. What's great about this, guys, too, is that if you have leftovers the next day, you can make a little, like a little cake, like a crab cake looking little risotto cake, saute it in a pan with a little bit of butter, poach an egg over the top, delicious the next morning. Fresh basil on the top.
Oh, and this was grown in the Garden Chef.
In my Garden Chef.
Great.
A little drizzle of olive oil. And you are good to go with risotto. You see it? You see how the risotto mounds up like that? And then it waves down? That's what you want. Then you garnish it however you like. You can add a little bit more lemon, a little bit of olive oil. Margaret, I want you to taste that. There's your spoon.
Oh, thank you. All right. Well, bon appetit. This is delicious. It literally melts in your mouth.
See that?
And I feel like I'm in Italy right now.
Well, we're in Chicago pretending to be in Italy, and it's working for me. I'm going to taste it with my wooden spoon because I get to do that. Oh, yummy. Perfect bite. Deliciously creamy. Loving every minute of it. don't forget, tune into our Facebook videos. We love what we're doing here. Margaret, you learned how to make risotto. Super proud of you. Your mission is to make it for your husband this weekend. You guys are all going to make it. And don't forget to post on my Instagram and Facebook to let me know how it came out. Let us know what you thought of this crazy video, because it was crazy. I can appreciate the crazy. And good luck making the risotto. It's so easy, guys. Cooking is fun. It should be fun. If it's not fun, don't do it. Go out to eat.
Absolutely. And always remember to enjoy the Viking life.
Yes, and take a little time to
savor the day.
Right? Cool.